I see a parallel emotionally between Caesar and Batman in that they're both characters who are tortured and trying to sort of grapple with their within themselves to find the way to do the right thing in a very...
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and Warner Brothers recently gave their final confirmation for the cast of Matt Reeves' Batman movie, and with me today is Skip to talk about it. What's up, buddy?
Not a whole lot, man. This has been a little bit of a controversial topic, and we thought we had to talk about it and even poke a little fun out of it, because some of this stuff and some of the photos that have leaked are just too funny not to talk about. So here we are.
Yeah, so we've talked about it in bits and pieces on Geekspan, but we haven't really we haven't put it all together. But now that the whole list is out there, let's talk about these characters one by one. I think there's a few hits in here, but I think overwhelmingly this movie, at least the casting initially, is filled with misses. And it all starts with Robert Pattinson, the sparkly vampire himself, is in as Bruce Wayne and Batman. What do you think about Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne?
I think the casting director was like, hey, he's had fangs before, right? Bats have fangs. He's a shoo-in. Let's get him in here. I was like, this can't be right. And with all due respect, I've seen Robert Pattinson, do the indie films and better films and grow and everything into this. But I'm sorry, like he doesn't scream. He doesn't yell. He doesn't even whimper. I'm Batman. At best, he can be a type of Bruce Wayne, and the type of Bruce Wayne that they probably would make him into is one that I'm not interested in. Probably won't respect the character, and will probably, and I get it, probably try to pander to audiences of today and whatnot. But I think there's a way to appeal. Appealing and pandering are two different things. I think it's a good idea and in your best interest to make things that are appealing and even appealing to specific people, but to pander is a whole nother thing. That's like begging, and that's what Robert Pattinson being cast as Batman says to me. It's begging for certain people to come check this out. What do you think, Wes?
It feels like a weird fit from the start. He's got the height, but he doesn't really have the build. He doesn't have a physical presence, and I guess, he can take steroids and go to a Hollywood trainer, I guess, and probably put the weight on. But right. I just don't see him having he's not like a brooding badass. He's just kind of like a moping, whiny, like not badass. So it always never made sense. And then, of course, he came out and said that Batman wasn't a hero. In my book. Pretty terrible take on the character. And he did try to walk it back by apologizing for it, but
the damage was done.
But yeah, he has had a lot of work on the indie scene. The last thing I saw him in was Water for Elephants. I was dating a chick that liked his movies at the time. I think a lot of us, got put in that predicament, and that was a terrible movie. That was about the last time I ever wanted to see Robert Pattinson. I tell you that. All right, so the second big casting is Lenny Kravitz's little girl Zoe Kravitz is set to play Selina Kyle, Catwoman.
Another miss. I mean, I don't know. Do they have their eyes closed and they're just shooting blindly? Or maybe they're like, well, she was in a comic book movie before. I guess we can throw in another one. Like, Zoe Kravitz is gorgeous. I don't think too many people would debate that, and I get that. And yeah, you want to put attractive people in your movies. I get it, especially Catwoman, because Catwoman, I mean, obviously Selina Kyle, very attractive character within the Batman scene, but it's not just about attraction. It's also, you have to be able to pull off the nuances and the mystique and all that stuff of the character. And even with all the movies that she's, been in and everything, and the TV shows and all that stuff, I don't think that she has the appeal. Again, it just kind of seems like pandering, instead of being like, is this a really good Batman and a Selina, and Bruce Wayne together? Is this a really good Catwoman and Batman together? It seemed just like, are these two hot people that could look hot together? Okay, great. You guys are in.
Yeah, it is odd casting. It feels like Matt Reeves is trying to cast his Batman so far away from all the other Batman movies to make it distinct that he forgot it's supposed to be a Batman movie. She acts okay, but I don't think she's ready for this kind of role. And she's also far too young for the character. At least she looks far too young, but I don't know. I'm old. Maybe she's actually in her 30s and it just doesn't look like it to me. Who knows?
Maybe. I mean, Lenny Kravitz doesn't look like he's the age. Lenny Kravitz is probably like 60 now, but he probably looks younger than me. But that aside, I think you hit a nail on the head, Wes. I think Reeves is trying to make his Batman so distinct, and I think he's like, I will bring the Batman, I will bring the detective work, I will bring the mood. I just need them to bring the heat. But the heat is only skin deep, baby. Come on, Matt.
So the next casting is the second time where we've had a race swap of a character. Now we've got Jeffrey Wright is in to play James Gordon, Commissioner Gordon. And this is what I'm actually kind of okay with. I think they did an okay job with this. What do you think about Jeffrey Wright as James Gordon?
See, like now we're talking about quality actors. Quality actors. So when you bring a quality actor in, whether it's a race swap or a gender swap or whatever, if you can bring a quality actor who I know can embody the essence of the character, I'm all for it. So yeah, Jeffrey Wright, easily one of my favorite actors in Hollywood. I would go as far as to say if he's not in my top, I mean, if he's not in my top 5, he's definitely in my top 10, but he's probably in my top 5. I really enjoyed every single thing that he's in, and he's played such a wide variety of characters, and it's always hard for me to see Jeffrey Wright. All I ever see is the characters. That's damn good acting. So him, I'm all for Jeffrey Wright being in it. I know he would be a fantastic Commissioner Gordon, and he's the type of actor that you can throw in something and it don't matter how good or great the director is. Jeffrey Wright is gonna chew a new hole into that character and embody it. What do you think, Wes?
When they did the 1989 Batman, there were some race swaps in there, and the big one was Billy D. Williams in there playing a key character. And
ghosts and goblins. Yeah.
Is this the Billy D. Williams of Matt Reeves Batman? I don't know, but it's a good start. Like I said, I think this was actually a good choice. It's actually somewhat inspired. It's a little bit different take on James Gordon, but Jeffrey Wright's got such a breadth of acting ability. He can play almost anything. So I'm all for it. I think this is actually a great choice in my opinion.
Yeah, I think possibly the best choice out of all of the casting. I'm not sure that there is a better one. There might be one better one, but we'll get there.
All right, so the next one is really strange to me. It's even worse than Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz, in my opinion. Paul Dano is in to play the Riddler, Edward Nygma. Really an odd choice. I don't understand how Paul Dano, I guess the Riddler isn't a big character in this movie.
I mean, yeah, so the Riddler seems like he's not a big character in the movie. I mean, I guess like physically might be the only thing that makes sense, but I mean, still it's just a miss. The Riddler has to have like a very small cameo. Paul Dano carrying the Riddler as a character in the movie. I can't see it. I can't see it. Like even if it's believable, I just don't see it being a strong representation of Edward Nygma. And it might even be one of those things where he ends up being more, playing Edward Nygma more than actually dressing up as the Riddler. If that's the case, then it makes a little more sense, but only this much.
Yes, I believe this is the Ezra Miller of Matt Reeves Batman casting, where it's just a fish out of water. He plays weird, quirky characters, and of course, the Riddler is quirky and kind of weird. But I think he'll just be too weird, too stupid with it. And I believe we've got an Ezra Miller situation on our hands. Total whiff, in my opinion. Was Michael Cera not available, people?
I know if you want to go the Paul Dano route, you might as well go all the way and just get Michael Cera in there. Let's really make it weird and quirky. Oh gosh, why?
All right, so the next one, in my opinion, is probably the best casting. It's John Turturro is in to play criminal mastermind Carmine Falcone. Likely not to be a huge role in there, but I think John Turturro, he feels like a gangster. He feels like an Italian gangster. What do you think about this one?
This was the casting that I said might be the only one that's as good as, or maybe even better than Jeffrey Wright in here. And I love John Turturro for everything from, Do the Right Thing to, The Big Lebowski. I mean, fantastic casting. This and Jeffrey Wright are really the two that I'm really, 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 really behind. And I don't know if it's enough. I don't know if there'll be enough to save the movie, but they will try to hold it up the best they can. We'll see.
I remember watching a movie called Waterworld, and you could tell that Dennis Hopper knew that he was in a terrible movie, and he just decided he was going to steal every scene and have fun with it, even though he was in a bad movie. I think this might be what John Turturro is going to do in this movie, where he realizes he's in a train wreck of a film, and he just said, "Screw it, I'm going to steal all the scenes. I'm even going to steal them from Batman himself," and probably steals the show. Hopefully, he takes advantage of it, because I think he might be one of the two characters that really stand out. All right, so we got a couple of casting choices left. I know you were a little bit happier with this when they were talking about it, but Andy Serkis, Gollum himself, is going to be stepping into the role of Bruce Wayne's butler, Alfred Pennyworth. What do you think about Andy Serkis as Alfred?
I was more for it at the time. Now I don't know what has changed within myself. Andy Serkis has remained the same, but I feel slightly different about it. I think if I'm thinking back, or even if I'm just focusing on it now, I believe it's the fact, he is in the category with Jeffrey Wright and John Turturro. It's just that he's such a believable actor. He does really ground himself in the character. I mean, so much so that he, is so popular for, for portraying the characters in the Planet of the Apes series and everything, Caesar, which I saw those. And yeah, I mean, he's that compelling with, when he's playing, CG characters. So, and then, his actual acting is good too. I did really, one of the more rare occurrences lately, but when he was in Black Panther as Claw, Ulysses Claw, I actually liked the version of Claw that he played from the Avengers movie, the second one, on up until the Black Panther movie. So because he is a really good actor, I feel like that's why I was excited about it. But I think about him playing Alfred now, and I'm like, oh man, now I'm starting to think like maybe the only good thing about that is A, his acting ability, and B, he's gonna have to save the scenes when he's in there with Robert Pattinson, because I just don't feel Robert Pattinson bringing it. But what do you think, Wes? How do you feel about Serkis now?
So Alfred in the movies so far, he's always just the guy in the earphone, that's kind of his butler and helping him out while he's on missions. In comics lore, Alfred has, he's a much more physical presence. He used to be a special forces officer, in the SAS and stuff. So maybe this Andy Serkis's version is going to be a more physical presence, as Alfred maybe get into the fight or whatever. If he's not, otherwise, I wish they would go back and do what they did with the original 1989 Batman and just go find some old British dude in their version of Broadway and bring him over, for pennies on the dollar, and let him play the character like a fine actor from England would. So I don't know why you need a big name actor on Alfred Pennyworth every time now. Just because you had Michael Caine doesn't mean you always need a big name actor for Alfred nowadays. All right, so the last one is definitely the most puzzling casting choice. Colin Farrell stepping in as Oswald Cobblepot, aka Penguin. Ugh.
Yeah, man, this is probably the most disappointing outside of Robert Pattinson. I think this is the most disappointing casting. I think it's so wrong that it's hard to verbalize anything on top of it. It's kind of just like, no. Why would you? I don't know. Maybe the casting director owed Colin Farrell's agent a favor and was just like, hey, Colin's not booked right now for this, and you owe me a favor. Go ahead and get him in there. He needs a nice little juicy check. But This is literally dumb to me. This is stupid.
I mean, is this apples and oranges? Are they even playing the same sport? You know, I like my penguin to be grotesque. I don't want a regal or dapper penguin like Colin Farrell's likely to portray. I want Danny DeVito back, you know, that disgusting penguin, you know, that's eating raw fish and doing all kind of stuff and like waddling. So that's why
biting noses.
Yeah, this is such a missed opportunity. You know, bringing in Colin Farrell, he's an all right actor. He's kind of he's blockbuster kryptonite. You make a blockbuster, you throw Colin Farrell onto it, it's almost guaranteed to lose money or not make money at that point. So I'm a little bit surprised they brought him in on this project. You know, they had the right guy sitting there. You know, they were trying to bring him in as the Riddler, and they didn't pull the trigger and bring him in as the Penguin. So
no, definitely not. Jonah Hill would have at least been the right fit.
He would have had the right mind.
Yeah, exactly. And with I think, you know, comedians for the most part tend to do the really good ones tend to do a good job of being able to go over to the dark side, especially for like dark humor. So dark humor with the Penguin, as long as it was dark and it was really dark, because the Penguin does embody that, would have made sense from Jonah Hill. This Colin Farrell thing, it just feels weird, and I don't want it, but it's in there. And
I think it's bad casting all around. I think Jeffrey Wright's going to do a great job as Jim Gordon. I think John Turturro is going to steal the show as Carmine Falcone. And I think Robert Pattinson is probably going to fall under the weight of an enormous character like Batman and Bruce Wayne, and definitely wish that he hadn't taken this part. What do you think, buddy? Any final thoughts?
My final thoughts are they better blow everybody away with that first trailer, because this pandering that they're doing is not going to be enough to recoup the whole thing. And as much as DC has mishandled, you know, their properties lately, you know, they're 50-50 right now in my book, which when you got characters like Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, you shouldn't be 50-50. Matt Reeves really better bring it. And that trailer, and not just him, like he can bring it, but that trailer, whatever company they hired to do the trailer, they better bring it, because otherwise I can see this movie fizzling out. And those are my final thoughts.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us today, and we'll talk to y'all later. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.